Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Crosswires, the tech variety show that spans the wealth of technology from AI. Well, we don't like AI on this show.
My name is Jay. I am writing about things for college students to help their papers pass the exams.
Do you know what? You actually sound a lot better than most AIs. We do have an episode that I'm working on about the dangers of AI in education. That sounds very mysterious. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. This week, as some of you may remember, Apple had a event recently, and rather than rush to record on the night, which for various reasons would have been a challenge anyway, and we'll talk about that, we thought, well, let's let the news sink in and let's do a little panel discussion with our favourite dream team of Apple pundits. Wait, is that the right term?
Yes, right
pundits. Okay, there we go.
I always prefer the cult of Apple because I all hail Steve Jobs forever and ever. Long live the Jobs.
Slight problem with that, dear. But I mean, you know.
Wait, no, I think Tim Cook is consulting Steve Jobs from Beyond the Dead.
A Ouija board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, they had Mother Nature, so you never know.
Do you know what's really worrying? Is that is now going to spark a conspiracy theory. We've just sparked a conspiracy theory. That worries me so much. Let me introduce the panel before they start sparking any more rumours. My wonderful co-host and co-producer and my beautiful partner. No, that's going to make a joke. Jay.
Hello. Yeah, I was just consulting the cryogenically frozen head of Walt Disney about things we could do for our streaming channels. So it's good to be here. It's been a good day.
How? You don't want to talk to Walt?
It'll only be
not in this current climate.
It'll only be 4 or 5 magic passes. You know their whole.
All right, I know. All right. Our other guest, our returning guest and good friend of the show, Alex Lowe from the Interface, who, honestly, I am so glad you could join us again because I think we've got into a bit of a rhythm doing these events now.
Yeah, it's a third one. Well, we start third one this year, isn't it? I think we didn't do it last year. So yeah, this year, yeah. Yeah, it's good.
It's good. So, Alex, how are things going over at the Interface? Is it being interfaced?
Yeah, it's all good. Keeping very busy with video. I did 3 car reviews 1 week back, every 3 weeks back to back a few weeks ago. So just recovering from that. But yeah, keeping very busy. Yeah, it's all good.
Awesome. As somebody who helped put in a Unify system, I got to commend you on UI Chat. I've actually been listening to it when it came out because I've been intrigued now to keep up on the Unify news, and you've become one of my main sources for Ubiquity news. So you're keeping me in harmony. Wait, that's Logitech.
Oh, jeez. It's ubiquitous.
Yes.
No, UI Chat's good. It's one of the most popular podcasts that I do now, so it's good.
Awesome. No, it is a very good source of news. And
thank you.
I've got to say a huge thank you, of course, to Alex publicly for just being so willing to offer his advice on Unify stuff. Because Unify is awesome, but it's got its little quirks, you know. But hey, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Apple's what was it called? Scary Fast, I believe.
Yes, and it was over scary fast. Like I was expecting. So I did the Apple add to calendar function, and it set it for 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, they're into this. What are they going to announce next?
What was it? About half of that?
It was 30 minutes.
Yeah,
30 minutes.
Yeah. What time of the day was it for you, Jay?
It was 8 p.m.
Okay, so it was going to be 1 a.m. here, but then the clocks changed, so it was 12 a.m. So I sat in bed watching it. So
nice.
Yeah.
I think, did I?
Yeah, you watched it with me because you were sick. So you.
Yes, I was off ill that week. I had.
Oh no.
I had a horrible chest infection. My boss will tell you I was definitely not well. I was coughing.
What was cool, though, not about you being sick, but what was cool is we watched the event on SharePlay. So we used the TV app to watch it, and we did SharePlay audio. So we're talking while listening. It was actually really cool.
So we were doing FaceTime audio with SharePlay for the actual event. And I mean, honestly, I get to say SharePlay. Please, more apps, like BBC iPlayer, for example. Please add SharePlay.
All the Doctor Who stuff and all that. Oh, and FaceTime, please stop audio ducking on iOS.
Yeah, okay. Does anyone else have that? I mean, like, genuine question, which is a question for Alex. I don't know if you've ever done this, you're on a video call or an audio call on FaceTime, and you want to watch something that isn't SharePlay, but FaceTime ducks the rest of the audio on the system.
Yeah, I've never used anything SharePlay, so I haven't had the chance to use it yet. But it would have been great during lockdown because me and my girlfriend met during lockdown. So
okay.
It wasn't available until after we met in person, which was a shame. But yeah.
Well, yeah, SharePlay is just wonderful. Anyway, let's talk about first things first. I want to ask that time of the event. So that was 8 p.m. Eastern time, which was 5 p.m. Pacific time. Now, that is late. For an Apple event, that is really late. But normally, what, about 9 a.m., maybe?
They're 9 a.m. Pacific, and then it's about 6 p.m. UK. So one theory that some people had on the internet was that, well, before we watched it, was that it coincides with a good time for Japan. It was 10 a.m. in Japan at that time. But
yes.
As it happened, there wasn't anything, as far as I remember, there wasn't anything that was specifically tailored towards that. There was going to be some gaming stuff apparently, but there wasn't as far as I remember. So
yeah. And like, it wasn't even Halloween because Halloween was the next day. Cause I do like how they made it Halloween themed. I liked all the lighting. I liked the music and all that, but it was still surprising for the theming of the event.
Well, they didn't they talk some of the things that the GPU could do gaming wise? So they did kind of go down, but not anywhere near as much as they expected. And again, with it only being a short event, let's be honest, this was just a pure and simple Mac event.
Yeah.
And interestingly, only 2 Mac lineups. Now, so 2 Mac product lines. I mean, there's so much to there's actually not that much to unpack. That's the thing. Should we make this simple? Should we start with the iMac? Because it's kind of the one where we can get through a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quickly.
I think it is important to mention, like, the biggest, like, change in all these things was it is the M3, the M3 Pro, and the M3 Max.
Yes. So they even said at the start, this is all about this new line of chips.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't announced the Ultra. Now, I can see the Ultra being next year, and that will be in, the Studio and the Mac Pro. Yeah.
Yep.
I can see, again, so look, 3 chips on the M3 silicon, a 3 nanometer process. That is tiny. Like, scary how... Now, don't Apple... Like, is anyone else doing 3 nanometer on desktop and laptop CPUs?
I don't know, really. I wouldn't have thought so. Apple seems to be pretty far ahead in this sort of thing.
And this is where I really think Apple Silicon is still showing how you can do low power performance. I mean, these chips basically were saying, and it's interesting, they compare them with the M1. A lot of the now, did anyone else notice this? The M1, they did the benchmarking against most of the M1 and Intel. Because are Apple, now here's a question, are Apple now in a different sort of upgrade mindset where you don't, because less previous Intel generations, you would probably upgrade more between Intel generations, right? Because performance was, am I making sense?
I think so. If you buy a Mac now, you in theory going to keep it for a very long time. My previous computer to this M1 iMac was a 2010 iMac, and I kept that for 10 years. But that's just like a single use case, like a edge case. Sorry, but yeah, I think because with Intel there was smaller upgrades over time. I think you might be right with that. But you are right with the graphs. Like they compared M1 to M3, and then someone drew a line for M2 where it could be. Sorry, right. There's a very small gap between them. So it's where it didn't make that much of a performance difference between M2 and M3, but if you're coming from Intel, which they really honed in that whole keynote, because we're a good time space between 2019 now and 2023. It's 4 years, which is a good upgrade time, I guess, for a Mac.
I'd say, 4 years for most tech is fairly reasonable.
And I can see why they've dumped Intel for a lot of reasons, because I know for a long time, some of the products were hampered by getting access to some of the newer Intel chips. Like I got a 2017 MacBook Pro, and that actually should have had a later chip, but because they were waiting for Intel on it, they could not. I was hampered by what I should have had at my speed, and that's why that Mac, it didn't last as long as it could have.
And then famously with the 2080 MacBook Air, the refresh, that was apparently severely delayed because of Intel weren't getting their act together. And it just limits what Apple can do, and Apple like to have a good amount of control over their own product lines. So
it's part of the reason why there's still the news about the new Qualcomm chips, that Apple's working on their own cellular chips, and they are, because they want to be able to drop Qualcomm on.
Yep.
Well, right, indeed. Why rely on someone else's product line? They saw the success of doing their own chips with the iPhone, because I believe, I might be wrong, was it the iPhone 4 that was the first one to use that?
The iPhone 4, yes. They used Samsung chips before that.
Right. And then they used their own stuff. It was all still, of course, ARM, but it was, this is their own design. And it's proved, I mean, look, let's be honest, that transition to doing their own chips has powered every major push. The Apple Watch, the AirPods. Is it H1? No, H2 now.
H1 to H2, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Because I've got AirPods, AirPods Pro 2 now, and they are incredible. I mean, the noise cancelling on those second... Yep. Well, mine are like second generation AirPods 2, because mine have ones with a USB charging case. Fun fact, by the way, on those, just for people, did you know you can charge those on an Apple Watch charger?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
Yeah. So M3 is the base model. And let's be honest, the M3 is no slouch in itself. It is still a great chip. And that goes into two products. So let's start with the iMac, because I cannot say how big of a fan I am of these new iMacs. I mean, you've got one, Alex, right? You're actually on one as we speak.
I've got the M1 version,
right. Yeah. Now, question for you, because this has been one of the overarching things about these machines.
Yeah.
These new chips. Because they're using unified memory, which means that the memory is on the package. It's on the system on a chip. Mm-hmm. So it's not separate DIMMs. It's not even like some other laptops where it's soldered DIMMs. It is in the
CPU,
yeah, the CPU.
SoC.
SoC, system on a chip. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the storage is still separate. The storage isn't on the SoC. The storage is...
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we put the storage on. But the whole idea is that unified memory means that the GPU and the CPU, so your video and your processing, your number crunching, share the same memory. There's no bottleneck now. That used to be a big thing. Mm-hmm. But people are still saying... In fact, actually, while we're doing this, Jay, could you go and look up the base model Dell at a similar price point to the MacBook Airs and Pros, maybe? And I want to see how much RAM they come with. Because let's tackle this head on. 8 gigs of RAM is the base model. Now, a lot of people saying, Apple, disappointed. Don't like that. Want more RAM. But we've all got M Series Max. Now, Alex, I'm going to guess, what have you got? 16 gig in that?
Yep.
Okay. Do you think these complaints about a base model 8 gig are justified? Or have we... Because I certainly can say that coming from a 64 gig Intel-based iMac, I'm seeing so much more performance on the unified memory than I ever would have done on that. But I don't know what your experience has been.
I think also important to remember, so there was these complaints with the iPhone when it was revealed how much RAM it actually had, and it's people comparing it to what Android RAM phones had, and then the same in Windows and Mac now. What people aren't remembering is the fact that Apple do all of this themselves. They know exactly, they build the operating system, they build the hardware, they know every single minute detail about that entire phone, entire operating system. Whereas with Android, the OS is frankly not that optimized. It's okay, and therefore it needs more horsepower to handle it. And the same with Windows. Windows is the Windows market is hugely fragmented. It's different machines, different combinations of hardware running a very similar operating system, and you need a bit of a buffer just to cope with it. And all of those machines on the Windows side have very traditional setups. They have separated RAM in the DIMM slots. They have a very, very vanilla, even across the price point, they have very vanilla setups. And if the difference between having a Mac with 8 gigs of RAM unified memory and 16 gigs of unified memory is saving a couple $100, and it means someone can actually afford it, then it's probably quite good. And and Mac OS itself is very, very optimized for that. And with the new Mac machines with the Apple Silicon, that 8 gigs of memory is shared between GPU and CPU. So you're getting a good sort of base. Like what kind of $1,000 computer comes with 8 gigs of video memory, or even available 6? So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of Mac users out there that are gonna be very content with 8 gigs of memory, and it means they could probably afford it, because let's face it, Macs are quite expensive.
Yeah.
And there's people out there just have an iPhone, they just want an Apple computer to go with it. So yeah, bit of a ramble there, but I think with the modern machines, 8 gigs of RAM is 8 gigs of memory is a good baseline, and if you do want a bit more, you can buy a bit more. I think it'd be a waste of resources to go for that as a base configuration. So yeah, long-winded sort of opinion there, but I think yeah.
No, I think that's exactly my take on it as well. Now, what we should say is we're not talking about the days where shared, because everyone, when you think of shared video memory, what you think of traditionally is like the Intel GMA card stuff, where it would be a gig or 256 meg of RAM is siphoned off for the GPU. But this is different. This is them sharing the same pool of memory and be able to allocate. Now, in fact, dynamic caching, if I understand this correctly, it's a new feature in the G3. Wow, that's going back in time, isn't it? The G3. in the M3, that means that the amount of memory available to the GPU is rescaled in real time, which is incredible. Now, going back to the iMac, we haven't changed the form factor,
which some people weren't too happy about on Twitter, I noticed. So
is anyone happy about anything on Twitter these days?
No!
Or should we say X? Someone made a wonderful joke saying it's perfectly okay to dead name a product.
I mean, conservatives do all the time to trans people.
well, exactly, right? So we could do it to Elon. Right, anyway. That form factor for me is a perfect consumer Mac. And actually, we've got a client, Jamie, and you, who I would love to just put one of those on their front desk.
Yes. And
right.
Like I was actually at the Apple Store a few weeks back, and I was looking at some of the stuff while waiting around, and I honestly don't see a problem with the Intel iMac. No, sorry,
Intel. There's definitely problems with the Intel iMac.
Yes, because you just got rid of one because it was causing you pain.
Oh yeah.
I honestly don't see a problem with the new iMac because it's a good, clean design. It's well made. Doesn't have some of the same issues of even like the more plasticky iMacs. I had one of the iMacs before they went to the aluminum, and that had some issues. And like it's very lightweight compared relatively. And I feel like sometimes people want things changed, just to be new and shiny, because there's no reason to upgrade if you don't need to.
And this for Len's question, Alex, do you see any reason to upgrade that iMac right now?
No, not really. I edit 4K video on this every day. And it handles it pretty fine. Occasionally it bogs down because I've got too many tabs open, but it's perfectly fine. I do wish when I bought this, I wasn't editing any video at all. So I bought this for a feature of mine that hasn't happened. So I do wish I bought a Mac Studio instead and a Studio Display, because it would have future-proofed a bit more. But this is perfectly fine, and I can move it around. I can take it off the desk very easy to clean. I can move it to the other desk if I need to record something. It's great. So,
and is it as thin as people? Is it as? Because I've seen them. You don't get an impression of how thin it is from the photos. It really is.
Yeah. And as somebody who used to carry one of the 2006 iMacs to and from work in a carrying case made for them, I'm glad that these are much lighter. Literally, You're
one of those people, aren't you, who takes their iMac to the coffee shop?
I did one time, actually. I did.
Oh, man.
I've seen people like actually set like power cord, everything
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're lighter because oh my gosh, I might not have so many back problems if they had been lighter.
We see most people now. That's an interesting one as well, isn't it? Because now that the M series chips, now this is something I hadn't thought about. Bear in mind that in the product line, for the most part, they are the same chips as just different, very slightly different variant with slightly different performances. That means that if you want a laptop at that consumer grade level, you go for a MacBook Air. You're not going to lose any performance over the iMac.
No. Did you notice the iMac kept the Lightning keyboard and mouse?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. I noticed that especially because of all of the comments online were about that as well. And I think probably the reason why is it takes a while to redo things. And if Apple's going to redesign that, they could also be working on a new product redesign of them overall and maybe get rid of the mouse that charges on the bottom so you can actually utilize it when you're...
I don't mind that at all. I've got no problem with that mouse.
What, you mean that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I use it. I do. However, if I'm going to do a product refresh on this mouse, MagSafe.
Yes.
You still wouldn't then be able to actually use a mouse.
I personally don't think you actually need to use the mouse when it's charging because it reminds you when you need to charge it.
That's true.
I see that notification and then I plug it into charge once I've finished doing what I'm doing.
You obviously have not been somebody who's been in the middle of some mission critical work and your mouse just stops charging.
But your failure to charge your mouse does not constitute an emergency on my part.
And then if the mouse does die mid-work, you can put it on charge and go and make a coffee.
Yeah, because coffee or tea or other,
and if you want some great coffee, go to crossfires.net/coffee and use coupon code crossfires for 10% off your coffee.
Oh, geez, we're doing plugs already. I love it. Do you know, I've got a Magic Mouse. I actually picked this up from CEX.
Oh, yes, you've not shown me that. How is that?
That is gorgeous. Look, that's the trackpad.
Oh, I can't wait to put my hands on that.
Space grey trackpad.
I'm using that in December, by the way. So I want to see how it's...
Are you indeed? I'll have to decide whether or not I'm going to let you. No.
What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine.
Do you know the keyboard? Completely random tangent. Do you know what I'd like to see again? Is a Apple wired keyboard, so like the big one they've got, which got the numpad and the Touch ID.
Yes,
but that is actually wired with USB ports. I don't know if you remember the.
Yes, yeah,
I do. I loved those. I actually picked those up from we closed one of our offices years ago, and they were getting rid of things, and I snatched that out of the office for my own personal office.
Makes sense. No, but they were great keyboards, and. You know what? I just miss having wired... That said, I'm getting you a keyboard at Christmas. Anyway, so the iMac... One thing, Alex, did you get the version which... Because I know you're probably on Wi-Fi, but did you get the version with the Ethernet in the brick?
I'm using Ethernet right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I went for the top spec version. So I got four USB-C ports and then the Ethernet on the brick. Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, does it behave like it should do? Like you're not seeing any performance degradation on?
No, I use it all the time. The only reason I got Ethernet is because I swap and change a lot for work. So
got you.
It's like having Wi-Fi for that would be literally annoying. So
I see because you're testing into different hardware and probably different VLANs and
that's correct.
Got you. Okay,
it's quite clever though. I'm always amazed how it works. It's just the power cable's got Ethernet built in. It's just like what.
It's got to be... Well, I wonder if it's because it's not USB-C. It's their own magnetic thing, but I wonder...
There'll be some separate pins for the Ethernet, I reckon.
Yeah, more than likely. More than likely. So, going back to the chips. Now, the M3, consumer grade, but still very powerful. I mean, of course, we've got the M3 Pro and the M3 Max. Now...
The iMacs only have the MP3 Pro and M3 Max.
No, they are only M3, the iMacs. There's no...
Well, I thought there was only M Pro and Max on the iMacs.
No.
Just M3.
Just M3.
Oh,
it's all right. No, it's good. It's good. You see, because I got confused about one of the other products, and I'll talk about that. But, no, the iMac, and I think that's what Alex was saying, they didn't release a bigger iMac that people were wanting with the M3 Pro and the M3 Max.
Which... I see why from a product standpoint, because if you want to sell the Mac Studios and things like that, you've got to give people a reason to go higher.
Well, also, a big part of the cost of an iMac is the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's in that market, they're not going to keep an iMac for 10 years, that sort of person.
Yeah.
They're just going to spend all their money on the screen and then upgrade the Mac Studio over time. So
that makes sense. And even I would say, because I'm on an M2 Pro Mac Mini, I would say good screen in it. If you don't need the power of a studio, the M2 Pro Mac Mini is a powerful little system.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, this is, doing all our streaming and everything. But the GPU is the big, big thing on the M3 line. And they're saying it's now got this dynamic caching, which is transparent to developers, as in devs don't have to worry about changing the code for it, which is great, because that should mean every app gets better performance. I think that's what they touted, isn't it? That everything gets better performance without the devs having to do any extra work.
And that is the best way to do it, because there are developers that maybe stop developing, or they forget to add something, and the fact that when it gets added by default is great. So
definitely. And we're adding, what is it? We're adding mesh shading and ray tracing. Now, if that is not a please, big game studios, come and make your games for our platform, I don't know what is.
And as somebody who's now playing World of Warcraft on a Steam Deck, and I bring this up for a reason.
Okay, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Go on.
Because Apple is utilizing aspects of Vulkan and Proton, so their Apple is also going the same way of Valve, realizing, hey, we're not going to get developers to change all their stuff on every single game. So we're going to make it where games will start running better and better. And now they are giving you special benefits if you do code for the Mac, but at least I'm impressed at what they're doing on games to make things more accessible.
This game porting toolkit is very similar to what Valve have done, just maybe not quite as consumer facing as it.
Exactly.
It's for developers. It's not for us to run.
But all this stuff, they're being smart of finding ways to make it easier for developers to, instead of having to say, oh, you've got to add in so many coding hours to do this, and then do Q&A testing to see if, and because porting to the system is not an inexpensive endeavor.
No, you're right. Now, look, ray tracing, and then again, they've added. Now, am I missing something? Have they added more cores?
So the M3 versus the M1, you get 8-core CPU on both.
Right.
And you get 8-core GPU on the M3 as standard. And then with the one spec up, you get 10-core, and then the M1 was 7-core. So you get 1 core less on the base model for GPU.
Right, okay. Which is still impressive, isn't it?
16-core neural engine on both as well.
Wow.
And then the big difference between the M3 and the M1, when you look at the iMac, is there's a new sort of engine inside for hardware acceleration for ProRes and ProRes RAW.
That's right.
So take the load off the CPU for that. And there's also an AV1 decoding engine as well, which is quite a popular format now.
And is that encoding as well for AV1, I believe?
That's just decoding it.
Just decoding.
Yeah.
Because I think, am I right, Jay, Twitch is starting to do some stuff with AV1.
Yes.
Yes, they mentioned that YouTube streaming will become more efficient and use less energy or something along those lines. So
that's good.
Yeah, Twitch plans to roll out AV1 out for its most popular content in 2022, 2023, with universal support for projected to arrive in 2024, 2025.
Nice. So we're saying here we go. We're saying that the newer engine, the new one, is up to 60% faster than the original M1. And again, notice, as we said earlier, they're comparing against the M1, not the M2. It's 15% faster on the M2 for the neural engine, but that's still pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. I'm just reading. This is actually from Apple's press release page, so they've done quite a nice job.
Okay.
Now, if I am correct, the maximum memory now on the M3 Mac, is now 128 gig of unified memory.
On the M3 iMac, it's 24 gig.
Yes, because
I think you're right on the M3 Pro stuff, yeah.
Let's just go to Apple Store. Now, Jay, have you got a company credit card to hand?
I do, yep.
Credit card.
Well, Alex, you don't think we've got a company credit card? I mean, there's no money on the company credit card, but we have one.
If you read it out, we'll just double check.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. The M3 Max obviously is the top of a range chip, right? And let's just go and have a look at what this is, what you can configure. Because someone spotted this. When you're configuring these Macs, a lot of the options for memory change depending on the CPU that you've chosen. So, for example, the M3 Max
3419847.
Jay.
Oh shoot! Are you saying that loud?
Good. See, the thing is, good. I know for a fact because I used to work in banking that is not a valid card number. So the sorry, I keep bumping stuff. I'm sorry, folks. There we go. So the M3 Max has up to a 16-core CPU, 40-core GPU, and let's have a look. That can do 48, 64, or 128 gig of unified memory, and up to an 8 terabyte SSD, which is not new. That's been in Apple's product line. Although it is $2,200 to add an 8 terabyte SSD.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely pricing, right? Now, these are just incredibly powerful chips. And again, they're emphasizing you get the same performance you get the same performance at lower power consumption. And that, I mean, I would really love to I don't have an Intel Mac anymore to test, but I can tell you again that the power consumption of this Mac Mini is ridiculously low.
Yeah, I went from 11-inch MacBook Air to a M2 MacBook Air. Obviously, quite a few years between them, but the MacBook Air 11-inch would just die quite quickly. This one can go weeks and weeks of just light usage, and I'd never charge it. So,
and that again is one of the big things. Now, of course, they didn't refresh the MacBook Airs. They didn't put an M3 into MacBook Airs. What they've done, and I have to say I like this. So they've done the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pros, the M3 model of the MacBook. Let me get this right. The M3 model is like the baseline. That's like the old. They've got rid of that old M1 with touch bar. The touch bar, gone, completely gone. Jay, I know you were a bit sad about that.
Yeah, especially because I liked my touch bar Mac a lot.
Aww.
And now, did we talk about, or were we going to talk about on this episode, the accessibility issues with?
Well, I think we should bring it up. So go for it. Why is removing the touch bar a problem?
So, for a lot of individuals who don't know how to touch type and things like that, the touch bar helped surface a lot of shortcuts and things like that for a lot of individuals, helped them customize, especially with things like better touch bar. You were able to create a workflow for each of your applications. You could have what you need right there on the top. It did make it harder when there was no escape key, and I know they started adding that in on later touch bar models, but by killing it off, it actually makes the keyboard less accessible for a lot of people in some ways.
That is interesting.
One last thing that I think is very important, because this is from Forbes, the touch bar strong visual resemblance to iOS, because actually using a fork of watchOS, there was a lot of comfort and familiarity for people. So in terms of cognition, the touch bar's cross-platform consistency can mean a lot for someone with certain cognitive conditions. I
get that, but it's not been on a pro laptop for a long time.
Yes.
Anyway. But hey, let us know, folks. What do you think? Now, I did notice something. Previously, the base model of most Apple laptops have come with 256 gig of SSD, have they not?
I think so, yeah.
Not anymore. The base model MacBook Pro 14-inch with the M3 is now 512 gig.
Oh, wow. That's good.
So that's actually quite a nice jump.
And that MacBook Pro had a price drop as well, didn't it?
Effectively, yes. I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, it's now starts at $1,599 for the 14-inch MacBook Pro.
Right, and I think, and it's now, that goes 8, 16, 24 in terms of memory, okay? One other difference that's worth noting, apart from the fact that there's no awesome black, is it does only have 2 USB Thunderbolt / USB 4 ports. Yep. Just because of the controllers, right, on the M3 chip.
Yeah.
And that will drive 2 external displays, I believe.
The M3 chip can only power one display though on the iMac.
On the iMac?
Yeah, it can only power one display.
Oh. What,
Probably
external?
because it's
Yes.
already doing a lot of work for that huge display on the iMac.
Essentially, yeah.
Possibly.
Let's have a quick look. This is live feedback.
Well, this is good. This is good to understand this stuff. And again, this is one of the reasons we wanted to do this, is to dig into a lot of, the what's and whys, if that makes sense. Oh, okay, yeah. So M3 is still the built-in display and one external display with up to 6K.
And the Pro is 2 external displays, and M3 Max is 4 external displays.
That makes sense. So yeah, the M3 is definitely a consumer. Well, I don't want to say, I don't like the word consumer, but it's
Average user sort of thing.
average user. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so it's the M3 Max does support up to 128 gigabytes of memory.
It does. And again, it's very, there's a handy page with all the tech specs. Because, of course, that's a nice thing, of course, about using the same chip in the iMac as we're using in the MacBook Pro. Because we know the tech specs of the M3. It doesn't change between... Where it does change, of course, is on a Mac Mini, because on a Mac Mini, an M3 would do 2 displays, but that's still technically 2 displays because you've got the display in your iMac or the laptop. So it's pretty good.
So did you also see on the M3 iMac it now supports Wi-Fi 6E, so 6 gigahertz?
Oh, that's nice.
And then on the MacBook Pros, it's also got ProMotion display. That was very much wasn't highlighted as much as I thought it was going to be. It's got the 120 hertz display on the MacBook Pros now.
Oh, very nice. Is that on every? Yeah, there we go.
It is
to 120. Yeah, there you go. That's on all of them. That's quite a big deal. That looks really nice.
I can't say I've ever wanted a higher refresh rate on my. I might be quite alone in that decision, but I can't say I've ever craved it on a computer. But on my phone, yes. Like when I first saw the phones with a 120 hertz display, I was like, "Wow, that's amazing."
But it's pretty nice. It is nice on a phone.
But I've just when I see it on a Mac, I'll probably want it.
I've just noticed something else, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want space grey on a Pro or a Max, you are out of luck. Okay. Because your choices are space black on the M3 Pro or the M3 Max. Now, has anyone seen the photos of that people are posting?
Stephen Robles put something on Twitter the other day.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And Mastodon, to be fair.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's cool. That's good of him.
Yeah. Well, no, he's very active on Mastodon. Which,
that's good.
Yeah. But I do like that space black. It is
nice.
I knew somebody who I got to see a space black. I think MacBook years ago, and it was amazing. I wanted one so much, but I didn't have the money.
Right? I mean, yeah. Oh, that's in, yeah, of course. And the memory bandwidth on just worth noting, the memory bandwidth from the M3 is only 100 gigabits a second. Is that gigabits or gigabytes?
I think it's gigabytes per second.
And one thing about these MacBooks, the 22 hours of battery life runs good no matter on battery or plugged in, which is huge. 11 times faster than Intel-based MacBook Pros. And this one is huge. Vast majority of workflows never hear fan.
So, okay, I wanted to ask you both about that because there's been stuff going on where people are saying, oh, yes, but if you put it into high power mode, the fans make an ungoshly noise, unholy noise. But if you're intentionally ramping their fans, then of course it's going to.
I remember my old Intel Mac, anything would spin up the fans. It would produce so much heat. But this new one, the only time I ever hear the fans is not when I'm rendering video, surprisingly, but it's when I'm screen recording something with a third-party app. But even if I'm rendering an hour video in 4K, I can hear a slight whir from the iMac, but that is literally it.
and again, speaking to someone who came from a 27-inch Core i7 iMac, this Mac Mini barely, it's fans. I mean, right now, bear in mind, we are recording. The CPU is only at 51 degrees. If that, 51. The fans are running at less than 2,000 RPM. And bear in mind, I've got 2 displays running right now. So obviously the display is consuming power. Again, this thing is drawing less than 30 watts right now. Doing all of this. It's impressive.
I don't hear my Mac at all. Like, I actually hear my Steam Deck more than my Mac.
I've got a Steam Deck. I definitely hear the fans on my Steam Deck because it is an AMD. Definitely hear the fans. It's great when you're on the train, honestly, because you've got a little hand warmer in winter. No,
I heard if you get the Steam Deck OLED, it's much cooler.
Okay, that's good to know. That makes sense for OLED. Now, of course, people are, there's no OLED displays in this. Now, someone made an interesting point. I can't remember who this was, that professionals don't want OLED. They want color accuracy.
That's something Apple's been very famed for recently, like P3 color gamut, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So very accurate colors, very, very good. That's what people want.
And think about this from a professional standpoint. You're doing a lot of this probably tedious work over and over and over again. OLED still has burn-in potential, whereas there's a lot less potential for burn-in, especially if you're editing the same graphic over and over and over again and you don't refresh what's on the screen.
I don't want the Crosswires logo burnt into my screen, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, if you think on an iPhone and iPad, they've got OLED now. Anything on that screen gets changed because it's full screen. Mac OS isn't, by default, it isn't a full screen OS. It's got the dock every time, and the menu bar, so it would,
That would burn in, that would start to burn in, you don't want that, I've got to say, Apple's product lineup right now, yes, they are pricey machines, but when has Apple ever actually done dirt cheap laptops? I don't think they have for a very, very long time, if at all.
And this is the Pro, by the way. If you want cheaper, you can go MacBook or MacBook Air.
We can't go MacBook anymore, Jay.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry.
But, I mean, look, MacBook Air, though, let's just talk about MacBook Air quickly, right? The MacBook Air is a base model. MacBook Air is on an M2 chip, M2, 13-inch, is $1,100. Yep. Now, you've got, am I right, Alex? You've got, what's your Mac? You've got an M2.
Yeah, I went for an M2 MacBook Air this time last year now, I think. Yeah. Time goes quick, doesn't it? And that was M2 13. I think personally at the time, even if 15 was available, I would have gone for 13 because I use it. I carry it around a lot. I went for silver, 24 gigs of memory and a terabyte SSD. So
okay, so
at the time,
that's still pretty good. I mean, look, I think Apple's lineup is really quite good right now. I think, as we've all said, I don't see them doing a bigger iMac at this point. They've
announced that they're not going to, haven't they? Did you see that?
No.
There was a statement that they got either 9 to 5 Mac or Mac Rumors. They said that they have no plans to announce a 27-inch iMac. Now, that doesn't rule out a 32-inch iMac.
It does not.
But I personally think they're not going to bother. I think the days of the stopgap iMac Pro are gone because they've got their own. That was definitely a stopgap machine. And then, as I said in the show earlier, I think that sort of person, which is what I'll be going for next time if it's still around, is the Mac Studio and the Studio Display. Those two combination.
That's right, because for your creative professional, they're going to want to choose the best display for them. Not everyone, of course, needs a Pro display. Go on, Jay.
I know what wedding gift I want now.
What?
I want Studio Display.
No, I want a purple and blue iMac.
What? One each?
One each, yeah, because imagine those sitting on our desk side by side because they look so nice.
I mean, I will say, those are such. I think honestly, those iMac are such a good family computer.
Yes, just if we get one, I'm insisting on purple.
You can have purple. You can have purple.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Let you.
The purple one is restricted to the form with 4 ports, though. So you have to go for our top spec one to get purple. Yeah.
There you go.
See, that's exactly. Fine. See, I'm trying to get us the best specs.
Well, let me just go and have a quick look at these iMacs because I wanted to see what I'm not spending any money just yet, of course, because we haven't got them.
It's wedding gifts for other people. So, Alex, Alex is buying us one, right?
I can get you a model one.
It's all right. Actually, random question. Do Ubiquiti do a wedding registry service? No?
if you do a wedding gift thing with John Lewis, you could put IMAX in there and stuff.
You could,
yeah, because we could use Throne because we have Thrones and we are going to use that for our wedding registry.
So I will say, by the way, looking at this, so the top, but I think if I've got this right, the top end M3, because the top end M3 iMac is an 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, half a terabyte of storage, so 512 gig, and 8 gig unified. That's $1,700.
Yeah, $1,800 in the UK.
Yeah, obviously we've got VAT added into our prices.
Again, £300 of VAT. So yeah.
Well, just for our Americans, just remember when you compare our prices to yours, our prices always include our sales tax. Mm-hmm. Really important. I know so many people have got tripped up by that. But even that, look, I think for most people, unless even that base model, $1,300.
We're not going for base model because we need for.
Well, what you don't get, of course, is Ethernet on the base model.
And
about 4 ports.
You can spec Ethernet for £30.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you just get a different power adapter with it.
Oh, okay, that's kind of good to know.
It is good,
and that makes sense because how many people are truly doing Ethernet nowadays? Because I mean, we do because we're the nerds, but I'm thinking of the average consumer. A lot of people just set up a router with an AP on it from their ISP. I'm being very serious. I know it's not the best.
You are 100% right.
Yep.
And I guess what if he's got 6E, then actually for people not like us, 6E. If you've got a 6E capable access point, what more than enough, Alex, for most performance?
Yeah, be absolutely fine with it. It's not the best. But if you're in a flat or something, or in a small house or whatever, you'll have that. And if you're in a bigger house, you'll just get. I know people that just done it, and I know people that just do that sort of thing. They get a router and they put a repeater in and then call it a day. So
yeah, I'm the only one that has I've actually strung underneath a cord care across my flat. There's an Ethernet cable running along, and I have a cord cover on it.
Well. I mean, I've got mine because they left a hole between. So I've got Ethernet running through a flat, but it's like under cupboards and stuff. It works. Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. Is network? Well, we did a great episode with Alex. On networking.
It was good, yeah.
I think one thing that is important to mention on all this stuff, by the way, is this is all 100% recycled aluminum, because there's been a lot of people who have, and a lot of these products, I mean, very wisely criticized how much tech waste there is. This is all recycled. That Apple's really trying to stop their use of virgin materials.
That was a big thing, wasn't it? At the event, back in September for the iPhone and it does continue for here. I will say right now, I think we are in a good place with the Mac lineup. Are the gaps? Yeah, probably. But let's see what comes out next year, because I don't think we're going to see any new Macs this year. People were disappointed. Let's just talk about what people were disappointed about. No new iPads. Yeah. But is that more of a case of focusing the chip production? Because did I hear correctly? There's not issues, but Apple are taking up most of the 3nm production. There's only so much to go around. So...
Have we mentioned that the whole Apple event was filmed on an iPhone? That was...
Yes. Oh, okay. No, we definitely want to talk about this. Okay. Right, Alex, good segue. Because, so it was filmed on an iPhone. What I do not understand, and I'm going to be honest, is why people are doubting that, because it looked professional.
There was a lot of stuff saying, but it was filmed on iPhone, but you had this good lighting, but you had this good rigs and stuff. Well, if you look at any production that's still got a small amount of budget, they'll have proper filming equipment, otherwise it'll look like crap.
Yeah.
And the fact that they've used an iPhone to film it with all that professional kit does not hamper the impressiveness of it. And the fact they were using drones with iPhones on them as well. It's like, I wouldn't even attempt that myself.
Wait, hold on. The drone shots were iPhone as well.
Every single thing you saw was done on iPhone.
I hadn't made that connection.
No, and I was one of the first ones when the iPhone 3GS came out. I bought that was it was my first paycheck. I got the 3GS
I was still in school.
I was
all right. Thanks, Alex. Cheers, mate.
I had just left school because I graduated in 2008, so I was on my first job, and I remember there's actually a YouTube channel that is owned by my Jay Crosswire's Google account that with a lot of videos that are filmed on an iPhone 3GS. And yeah, I would use good lighting. I would on some of them I would use good microphones, because yeah, the biggest thing we always tell people, the Logitech Brio, the C920, those are all consumer grade things. But if you give it good lighting, it looks good. And
well, you say that, yes, you're right. But can I say there's a huge difference between this, so the camera that I'm using right now, and I'm not going to change because we're mid-recording, but the lighting, we've noticed with the stream, so I've switched to using my iPhone, my 13 Pro, for our streams. The lighting and the colour are so much better on the iPhone than
on the Brio. Yes. My point is, I want to say it's not about the tool. It's how you use it, how you know how to use it. Because there are people that as John Gruber on Daring Fireball mentions, these 40,000 red cameras who have those, and they make stuff that looks like utter crap with it.
Garbage. Yeah. Well, that's it. And look, just because you were using accessories, like that's like saying that stuff that's shot on a Rocket 8K. Is it a Rocket 8K? I've forgotten what Red do. I don't even know what cameras Red do because I've lost interest. But it's like saying, oh, well, because you used a monitor or used a light, exactly what Alex is saying, using accessories. And I mean, what'd be interesting is how they did the audio. Do you think they recorded that on iPhone?
No, apparently they used lapel. So for my stuff I do for the interface, I use lapel mics. Mm-hmm. Apparently, some people said that they imagine they were underneath the t-shirt.
Oh, no, yeah, no, but I mean, were they connected to the iPhone or was it recorded off camera?
Could have been either, to be fair.
My guess is probably they either used the camera feed from the audio with a separate audio recorder to safely record it, because then you can sync it up very easily in Final Cut Pro if you use the audio, because you always want to try to have audio from your camera to sync up with your audio on your record elsewhere.
100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
I just thought it was very impressive. There was basically a few days after the event, there was a YouTube video that was published and then unlisted and then made to private in the space of like 5 minutes. But someone recorded it and then it was published a few days afterwards. But basically the behind the scenes of the Apple event and how they filmed it. They brought in a third party company to film the event for them.
Oh wow!
And everyone since the very first Apple events they filmed like that, everyone's been asking like, "How have you done this? How have you done this?" Even Marquez has asked, "Can we see some behind the scenes footage? Because this is just amazing." And yeah, there was some iPhones on drones, there was gimbals, there was motion stabilizers, all sorts of stuff, lighting, teleprompters, everything. So everything you'd expect in a normal professional shoot, they used.
Which is impressive.
I mean, you and I have shot some stuff for our upcoming Playdate review on. But we recorded that on an iPhone with a DJ Osmo, and in my opinion, it looked really good. I don't get why people are so upset with the extra stuff, because it's like, no, you're not going to have the best shot of like somebody wasn't coming up to Steve Jobs and being like, I'm holding my hands I have my phone in my hands like this. No, you're going to use things that
you can use the appropriate tools. Absolutely.
Yep,
absolutely. The difference is, I think honestly, the iPhone really does lower the cost of entry. Especially on the on the 15 Pro Max, if you can justify that cost, you've got such a powerful shooting rig for video.
Yeah.
You know. All right. So, speaking of long time things, I got an email today from Gideon Mayhew of the Iconfactory. Now, Gideon's been on the show a couple of times, and he's such a genuinely nice guy. But did you know that? So, at the point of recording this, it is November the 13th. But tomorrow, November 14th. Is 20 years since xScope. Now, xScope basically is the screen measuring and app that they created and
I was 13 when this came out. Wow,
that is crazy. That is crazy. Alex was what, 2? 6. Wow. Okay.
And
Sorry,
you were
Alex.
like 35, dear.
I was 20. I was 20.
Thank you for giving me the finger, by the way.
So, look, here's the deal. It's a really great app. If you need to measure stuff and use and zoom in, it's for app designers or anyone who needs to design. So important to get accurate measurements. It's got a loop. Great app. It's still there. Now, to celebrate 20 years of xScope, the team at Iconfactory very kindly given us a code so that you, our wonderful listeners, can pick up xScope for just $20 US. That's 60% off its normal price. And that's going to be good through December the 4th of this year. So you've got about a week to get in there and get xScope for $20 US. It's a wonderful app. And a huge thanks to Gideon and the team at Iconfactory for reaching out to us and making this possible. Really appreciate it. And congratulations to everyone at Iconfactory for 20 years. It's a very long run for an app. Congratulations, folks. Well deserved.
Simply visit crosswires.net/xscope, XSCOPE, and you can live long and prosper and make all of your enterprise diagrams lined up properly. How's that for a Star Trek reference?
I like that. That's a good Star Trek reference. I like that. You can make sure your warp core is aligned in your designs. Absolutely. Anyway, Alex, sorry, we had to do a bit of promo there, but thank you as always for joining us.
No problem. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully there's lots of Apple events next year, so we can do the same again next time.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to start booking these in. Well,
Yeah.
Obviously, no, it's gonna be good.
Apple needs to talk to us. And why didn't we get the AirPods Pro Maxes that they send out to influencers? Because we're influencers.
Jay. First of all, there's no such thing as AirPods Pro Max.
Oh,
Not yet.
Not yet. Give them time. Secondly, I don't think either any of us. Alex, do you describe yourself as an influencer?
Not particularly, no.
No, I have very little influence. The only thing I've got influence over, right, is how much our lino bill costs us.
okay, fair enough. And you stop me when I get some grandiose ideas on like buying some things, and you're like, Jay, it's not in the Crosswires budget.
Nothing's in the Crosswires budget. This is actually okay. Gotta say this quickly. Linode, yes, our hosting bill Linode is quite pricey at the moment, but I love the fact that we have our own cloud server, which has saved our bacon so many times, and our WordPress site just runs beautifully. It's great. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Alex, as always, thank you for joining us. Jay, thank you for just being you.
Oh, thank you.
We will see you next time. Bye, folks.
Please go to crosswires.net/tips so we can buy a purple iMac, please.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Crosswires. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So please drop us a note over to podcast@crosswires.net.
You can also drop us a comment on the post, or if you're a GoodPod user, why not start a discussion there too?
You can also join our new Discord server at crosswires.net/Discord. We've got forum channels for each episode, and we'd love you to join the discussion there.
You can also follow us on Mastodon at Crosswires at mastodon.social.
And of course, you can find the show in all the good podcast apps, and all the really bad ones too.
More of our content, head on over to crosswires.net/YouTube for all our videos, and keep an eye on our Twitch channel at crosswires.net/live for our upcoming streams.
If you like what you heard, please do drop a review in your podcast directory of choice. It really does help spread the word about the show.
And of course, if you can spare even the smallest amount of financial support, we'd be incredibly grateful. You can support us at ko-fi.com/crosswires. That is ko-fi.com/crosswires.
Until next time, thanks for listening.